Right now, I want to welcome to the program our friend Julie Gudlock from the Independent Women's Forum. Julie, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am excellent. Are you now? How do you do Thanksgiving? Because I've been to your house for dinner before, and I'm guessing you go bonkers for
A little
Thanksgiving.
bit bonkers. This year, though, I don't know if we've talked about this, but I had a minor surgery right before Thanksgiving, so slightly less than bonkers, still officially bonkers, but certain things I couldn't quite go all out like I usually do.
Oh, well, there's Christmas. Hopefully you'll be recovered enough for Christmas.
I'm slowly getting back into cooking like I usually do, so feeling pretty good, and I'm gearing up for Christmas.
All right, that is fantastic to hear. Now, you are still writing. I don't know how you do it, but you are still writing. And you write you got a piece of the Huffington Post right now. And this is really interesting. You say the Republican significant victory of the polls was not the only shock on Election Day. Both Oregon and Colorado voters voted no on a ballot initiative that would have required certain labels on food products that contained GMOs, genetically modified organisms. So what was going on there? I mean, again, Oregon and Colorado. Now, maybe you could say Colorado, you had a bit of a conservative wave come out. But in Oregon, you can't make that case.
Well, and this issue, GMO issue, it really doesn't sort of fit within party lines. There are as many Republicans that are against GMOs as there are Democrats. And so this issue is really all over the place, so it's hard to sort of track it. But I think it's really interesting that these ballot initiatives did fail in both of these states. And I think, as I wrote in my Huffington Post piece, there's a lot of theories. I think probably a lot of your listeners saw that Jimmy Kimmel piece where he asked people, his man on the street went out and said, and asked people, what is a GMO? And they almost, I don't think anyone got it right, which is genetically modified organism. They were saying all sorts of things. And again, he sort of exposed how people are against things because they're against them, not because they really know what they are. Everybody has to have a strong opinion on something. And so, some people theorize that, well, people just don't know enough about it, so they didn't really want to vote for it. And I said that, look, I have another theory. I think we are entering an age of sort of labeling fatigue. And you have people who are demanding, labels on gluten, labels on this, labels on that. We need front of the package labeling. We need, stop lights, red if it's bad, green if it's good. It's just all of these demands for all sorts of labeling, and I think people are just overwhelmed. And I think people are just kind of tired of some of these labeling initiatives. So that was my theory, and I draw it out a little bit further in the piece. But I think, we might be seeing a turnaround on the GMO issue where people are kind of starting to get it. They've been in the marketplace for 20-plus years. There's absolutely not one single study that shows they're harmful. And so, I think we're starting to see that at the polls.
I'm not quite sure I'm with you yet.
Oh, boy.
We may be seeing it, but I know, I'm sorry. But I think I think we're almost at that tipping point if we haven't reached it yet, and I think we are trending in that direction, because you look at like Cass Sunstein's piece today. It goes far beyond the you talk about labeling fatigue. So let's talk about the new FDA rules, Julie.
Oh, sure, let's do.
That will require calorie labels for far more businesses than what are currently demanded. Cass Sunstein out with a op-ed saying this is fantastic. Oh, of course, it's nudging.
Yeah.
This is a great nudge here, right? I mean, all we got to do is we got to post this information. People are going to eat less calories, 14% less calories, according to one study, Julie.
Right. Yeah, it's really Cass Sunstein. He's you and I have talked about him quite a bit, and I always enjoy listening to you talk about Cass Sunstein because he really does consider Americans and really all human beings to be those things that are on The Walking Dead. We are mindless, grunting, eating machines. We see something in front of us, and we eat it, and we have no ability to control ourselves. So Cass Sunstein is very much for these calorie postings. Unfortunately, I had a piece in the National Review online where I talked about the efficacy of these posts, these calorie postings. And I want to be clear, this is where you go to a chain restaurant. This is really targeting chain restaurants, although, as I mentioned in my new piece on NRO, it goes far beyond chain restaurants. They've now included things like convenience stores and grocery stores for like the salad bar, and many other businesses. And so these businesses now have to post the calorie information on, for whatever you're going to eat. And not only does study after study after study say that these things don't work, they in no way alter the way people eat. People will go ahead and order what they want. But it's incredibly expensive for these businesses. And this is the other thing, and I'm sorry, I know I'm going on, but the other thing I'd like to say is, you hear food writers like Mark Bittman and Michael Pollan and all of these sanctimonious, we know what's better for you food writers, tell Americans that, we just need to go back to a simpler time where the woman behind the deli counter was just, cooking what she liked for people she loved, right? Well, now they love calorie posts. They love calorie information being posted on menus and on menu boards. And what the FDA, by requiring this, what they're doing is exactly the opposite. It's going to take away that deli woman or man's ability to just put things out that look good, or go over to the produce section and see what's overly ripe, but maybe can be turned into a salad. Because now, since grocery stores and many of these other corporate organizations have to stick to calorie counts, they can't just, put out what's in season or put out something on the salad bar, because it's regulated now. They have to put calorie information, so you can't sort of wing it. And so you have these food writers and these sanctimonious food authorities saying, we should go back to a simpler time. Well, at that simpler time, there weren't these regulations. So it's very frustrating. I really hope people are able to connect the dots, because what they're going to see is a lot less choice and really interesting things at their grocery stores now because of these rules.
Talking with Julie Gunlock of the Independent Women's Forum. And, Julie, when it comes to this, again, the nudging here, if this doesn't have the impact that Cass Sunstein and others are hoping for, because we were talking about this earlier, and there's a game, I think, that we play when we see the calorie counts on the menu board, and that is we play this sort of mental math, right? Where it's like, okay, so if I have 500 calories or 600 calories now, then the next time we're in front of a meal and we don't necessarily have that information in front of us, a lot of times we say, but you know what? I only had 600 calories at lunch. I only had this, so bring me the cake.
Right.
Let's pile it on.
Exactly.
You may be eating 14% less at that meal. I'm not convinced that you're actually going to be eating 14% less overall here. And so if there are those unintended consequences, well, then what's the next step for the nanniers? If this doesn't work, if we still have our guts, if we've still got our bellies, and the obesity rate doesn't drop dramatically, what's the next step then?
Oh, I don't. Probably. That's a really tough question, because how much dumber can they get? How much more stupid can they make Americans absorb? And what's frustrating to me is, everybody, sort of says, oh, calorie information, boy, this is going to make everyone make a really good decision about the food they eat. A not insignificant study. This was a huge study in 2009. It was done by New York University and Yale University. Okay, let's just for a second let that sink in. These are very, very good top universities. Researchers looked at 1,100 customers. Okay, so when you're considering a study, that's a very good number. Okay, that's a lot of people they're looking at, right? And what they did is they looked at 4 fast food restaurants in poor sections of New York, the poor boroughs of New York City. Okay, and that is where obesity rates are really high. So just what I'm telling you, the methodology of their study was really good, because they're not going, okay, you want to know the study that Michelle Obama always cites? It's a study that shows these calorie postings worked. She cites a study of 300 people at a Subway a Subway sandwich shop, which frankly, like, you can fairly easily eat pretty healthily there. And it was in an extremely like Tony White neighborhood where all the people who went in there said they were on a diet. So I mean, let's just compare studies here. But let me go back to the study I'm talking about. It was fascinating. They interviewed the customers, the customers that did say, and it was only like 28% who said they made healthier choices as a result of this. So that's really low. It's only 28% of people who said. Now let me just get to the real interesting bit here. They then examined the receipts of that 28%, and those people, I called them aspirational eaters. They actually ordered items that were higher in calories. So they lied. They lied about it. So here you only have 28% of the people who said they noticed the menu boards. And that group of people actually ordered higher calorie items than they said they did. And that's what we're talking about. That's what you're talking about, Cam, when you say, I might as well, I've done that. I've seen that, my healthy choice is only 30 calories less than the the so-called unhealthy choice. Well, I'm going to go high. It's only 30 calories. So there might actually be some bad results of these calorie postings. It'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, I always just, this is something I think the nudgers often don't think about. I mean, the whole. I mean, the whole industry of behavioral economics, it seems to me is sort of reluctant to consider that people are complicated beings, and that if you expect them to do,
they're sitting in a desk at a university, hanging out with equally thin people who are like off to do yoga. I mean, these people are not normal, right? They're in their ivory tower, and they don't deal or hang out or even understand the real world. And they certainly don't understand the eating habits of people in poorer boroughs of New York City who might really want a lot of bang for their buck. I mean, you get a lot of food for a couple bucks at McDonald's. And so they also don't understand that there is like some sense of, hey, I'm getting a lot of food for a little bit of money. So that's something that these nudgers don't seem to really understand. But again, I think it's mainly because they don't really hang out with normal people.
Yeah. I think you're right. Well, listen, Julie, I appreciate you coming on the program, and feel better.
I will. I'm doing better every day.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. We'll talk to you soon, and hopefully we'll see you soon before long as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Julie Gunlock, you can find her writing at IWF.org. As I said, Huffington Post, she's got a piece right now. National Review. She's everywhere. She is everywhere.